Welcome back, everybody. Our next guest has an extraordinary finger on the pulse of America. Janae Stracke serves as the director of grassroots for Heritage Action for America and has been a leading voice on the southern border crisis, as well as having a great sense of how that crisis is troubling everyday Americans. Janae, great to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
It is such an extraordinary moment when you see the majority party in power in Washington completely disconnected from an issue Americans say we want fixed, and the Democrats don't seem to be interested in fixing it. Talk about that disconnect and how it could play out in the November election.
That's exactly right. You know, a disconnect might be the nice way of putting it. I think they're systematically dismantling every tool we have to protect our borders and stop the flow of illegal immigrants that has been absolutely devastating to the American people. I could list off a number of issues that it's caused for the American people. The fentanyl overdose is now the leading cause of deaths for people ages 18 to 45. We have 240,000 illegal immigrants caught in 1 month. 1 month, that's 8,000 per day. I mean, they are flooding across the border. And because the Biden administration has dismantled all of the tools we have and basically said, come on over. If you come, you're going to get to stay. So this is the number one issue, long-term issue facing the American people, and it needs to be the number one priority for the incoming congressional members. If the Republicans retake the House and Senate, this needs to be their priority. This is a mandate from the American people, and all of our numbers are showing that this is something every American is being impacted by.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about it. And the Commitment with America that was rolled out by the House Republicans last week clearly has a big focus on the border crisis. Another place where a lot of progress has been made in the absence of federal action are the states exercising their own rights to do things. I think Heritage has put together some great ideas. What are some of the most interesting things states are doing to fill the gap where Washington has failed?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And there's a lot that states can do, but I think that taking an all hands on deck approach to this is going to be vital. We need to see that leadership from Washington, D.C. as well. So Heritage Action and the Heritage Foundation and a group of other people have put out a list of recommendations and policies that both the states and the federal government can put into place. I mean, the asylum system is being completely abused. That should be one of the first things they fix and fill the gaps on. We have seen those numbers skyrocket. We should also reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy. This is a policy that Trump had put into place that basically said if you're seeking asylum, the country that you go through first is the country you should stay in. So if immigrants are going through Mexico and are truly seeking asylum, they should be able to seek care in Mexico before coming to America. But unfortunately, what's happening is the system's being abused. These illegal immigrants are not actually seeking asylum. And then catch and release is another policy that should be ended. So these illegal immigrants, many of which are terrorists, MS-13 gang members, just a dozen of them have been caught recently. Even came across as previously convicted of murder in Tennessee. These are the illegal immigrants that are coming back across our border. And because of catch and release, they're caught at the border and then released so that they can go to a court date later on, which of course they don't actually show up at. So those are the first two things that should be addressed. And then of course we need to offer more funding to Customs and Border Patrol, more resources, and Secretary Mayorkas needs to be impeached. That should be something the House takes on as well. He has failed to uphold his basic duties in this position, and that would be a step that the House can take to show the Biden administration you don't get to mess around. You do your job, or you need to get out.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a message that voters need to send. When you look out over the last few weeks, we've been talking on this show about all the times that Democrats had illegal migrants bust to their community, like, oh, not here. We don't want them in our backyard. Sorry, too much of a crisis for us. Do you think that's going to play out in the election and how?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen some pretty theatrical displays of that recently with the Martha's Vineyard, and the hypocrisy is so clear. The reality is that every state is a border state in America. They're not just staying in Texas or Arizona or some of these other border states. They're being moved into all of our states, and the elite Democrats need to realize that if they're coming into their vacation towns. They don't seem to like that very much. This is absolutely a key issue for the upcoming election. Members are going to have to answer on it no matter what party you're from. I hope that the American people, and I believe that the American people will hold the Democrat Party accountable for this, as they have completely ignored their responsibilities and have dismissed the crisis that they're seeing before their very eyes. This is hurting every American across the country, and I believe they will show that when they vote in November. But they'll also be sending a really clear message to Republicans. If a new majority comes in the House, this is a message from the American people. They are demanding that you do something about this crisis, stop the illegal immigration, fill the gaps, fix the system. 72% of Americans have responded and said that they want the border to be secured. The flood of illegal immigrants has to stop. Where I'm talking about numbers, those are just the numbers we know. What about the number of illegal immigrants who have gotten away? Many who are gang members and causing much damage to our communities. So this is a leading issue for the election, and I do believe that we will see the impact of that.
Those gotaways, a lot of people mentioned them tonight. It's a really scary situation. We got about a minute left, Janae. Real quickly, someone's listening. They want to do something. There's 40 days left of the election. What can they do with Hoffa, with others, to make a difference going into the final 40 days of this midterm election?
Absolutely. Get involved in any way that you can. Join Heritage Action Sentinel. You can text Sentinel to 51776. We have weekly strategies about what action items you can take. You also can volunteer for a campaign. Door knock. We're doing door knocking at Heritage Action as well. There are a number of things that you can do, whether it's giving your time, your money, calling your members. Please continue to call your members even prior to the election. Let them know right now, while they're still campaigning, this is an issue you care about. This is an issue that you expect them to do something about and that you will hold them accountable for.
Yeah, well, we've seen Heritage Action's work, whether it was on Title IX, whether it was on election integrity. Grassroots really does make a difference. Janae, great job with all that you're doing out in the field. And thanks for joining us tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great to have you. All right, folks, believe it or not, that wraps up this very important special report on border security. As we close, I want to thank our sponsor and partner, Heritage Action for America, for making this conversation possible, as well as our friends here at Real America's Voice for allowing us to reach out directly to you, the viewers. One unmistakable message from tonight's experts is that border security is without question on the ballot this fall, and you have the ability to be part of the solution just by voting. Now, we'll be right back here tomorrow night at 6 p.m., where I'll be rejoined by my amazing co-host, Amanda Head, to bring you more breaking news and the latest headlines from Just the News, Not Noise. Until then, I ask that God continue to bless you and this extraordinary country. Thanks again for tuning in, and have a great night.